2 twos.
2, 2, and 22.
Yes. Oh, I like it. Angel numbers. We'll have to look up what that means. But yeah, so today we are talking fourth trimester. That's the trimester surprise that nobody tells you about until right before it starts, or you just find out when it starts. And very, very happy to introduce our very first guest. Someone who is super, super special to me. She's not only my cousin, but she's basically like my best friend and like sister. Ashley, welcome.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm so excited. So, and we mentioned in the last episode that Aryka and I had some surprises for this season, and bringing guests in to some of the episodes is one of the surprises. And so super happy to have Ashley join us for this episode. We couldn't think of anyone better to join us because Ashley is right in or wrapping up her fourth trimester, being a new mommy. So I'll let you, Ashley, tell the people your experience with fourth trimester and tell us all about your little bambino.
Yes, first off, I'm just so in love. Like, everyone tries to tell you like, oh, your heart's going to burst. You're going to be so in love. But until you actually experience it, like nothing compares. It's like so much. I do feel like my fourth trimester is a little different. Me and my husband are a little crazy. Not only did we decide that we're going to have a baby, we're going to purchase a house and we're going to move across state lines. So all of this tied into one. Yeah, it's a lot. So all this tied into one, just day to day, I'm just like one moment at a time, Ashley, one moment at a time. Beyond those things that we decided to add into the mix, just in general with the fourth trimester, I will say, wow.
That sums it up for sure.
We could call this episode wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Pretty accurate. Yeah.
Yes. Everyone tells you like, oh, you get the sleep that you can, all that stuff. And you're like, yeah, like I'm getting the sleep and I'll be fine. No, you're not fine. Like I remember one day I went upstairs to get something for the baby and I literally just sat on the bed and like went to sleep, and Remy came upstairs and was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing. I didn't even realize I fell asleep. Didn't realize I fell asleep. So the sleep deprivation and waking up every X amount of hours, especially because we're nursing. So getting accustomed to that and making sure my milk supply is up. It's a lot, but it's a good a lot. Like I'm happy that God chose me to be his mom, and I couldn't even imagine my world without him now, even with all those other stressors and not having sleep and emotional roller coaster of the fourth trimester, especially with relearning myself, relearning my husband, reopening all these emotions and things. Like it's crazy. Like it's a whirlwind of emotions. Good. The cause of the emotions are good, but still a lot to take on and try to unravel, I guess, is the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think part of that is because we don't learn about that. Like similar to what we were talking about in episode 1, where when you're prepping for birth, C-sections aren't something that people prep for. And I know, Ashley, you had a C-section too. Like nobody prepares to have a C-section, right? Like you know that it's something that could happen, but you're not like, oh, let me go in and make sure that I'm ready for this C-section. And I think it's the same thing with the fourth trimester. It's like, you don't even know that it's a thing. And if you do, you probably don't know enough to really prepare for. I don't think there's a way that you can be adequately prepared for it. You know what I mean? Because it's going to throw you curves. Like, even like what you said, Ashley, like you had life stuff that was happening. You didn't know that all of that stuff, like some of that stuff you couldn't necessarily prepare for. And even if you prepared for that, you can't prepare for the way the fourth trimester hits. I think, and for me, like the sleep thing Definitely. And I almost like Trey kind of hit me with the pump fake, because in the beginning, I was like, what is everybody complaining about? All he did was sleep. Basically, like he would wake up and feed, and then he was sleeping more than he was doing anything else. So I was just like, did I just hit the lottery? Did I get one of those babies that just sleep all the time? Or
Right.
like what's happening here? And then around like week 3, maybe even week 2, I was like, oh.
That I think it was the same way for me. It took a second for him to be like, "Oh, I'm out now and I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just going to be up at 2 in the morning and sleep all through the day." Yeah, it was the same exact thing for me, and he slept so much in the beginning and then was nursing so much that I couldn't tell if he was getting enough. Like with the nursing, because obviously when you're nursing directly and not pumping, you don't really know how much they're getting, and you're hoping they're getting enough. But it's really hard to tell, and that's part of figuring everything out when you first are getting home.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of it is that, and it's important for people to know, at least I haven't met anyone that's had that type of setup, maybe for like Beyonce and them, but like your life doesn't stop. Like your
No.
bills don't stop coming, your groceries don't stop needing to be purchased, your partner doesn't stop needing attention and interaction, your parent, like nothing stops. Everything that was going on before you got pregnant and before you had your baby, with the exception of work, if you're lucky, is still happening. Except now you have this person who is not a fan of like regular sleeping hours,
Right.
is like right up next to you, that like wants you and needs you all the time. And it's a kind of exhaustion that I had never experienced before, because I think as adults, we get tired, we push ourselves for work or for whatever else, but we control when we decide to say, all right, F it, I'm going to go to sleep. When you have a baby, you literally have, like, I know for me, I won't say learn the definition of perseverance, because I've been in other situations where I've had to persevere, but like I learned the definition of like just pushing through, because I can't go to sleep.
No.
And like you, Ashley, I would sit on the bed and I was like, okay, I'd do a feeding or a change or whatever. And I'd be like, do, 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 do. And then be like, oh shit, I just fell asleep for like 5 minutes. Is he okay? Okay. And then feel like the worst mom ever. But I haven't slept in like, who knows how long. I'm running on fumes, and and your hormones are all out of whack. Like you go from being in one state for literally 10 months, and then within like 5-10 minutes, like when your baby comes out, however he or she or they are delivered, and then like you still have to go and function. Like your body is not right. Like nothing about you is right. And I think experiencing everything that you're experiencing and then experience it on no sleep, like, I don't know any new mom who does not have that moment where they just feel like completely and totally like exhausted, drained, and overwhelmed. It's like, I would just like to curl up in the corner and cry.
That's literally is what I thought too.
Yes.
It's 100% too.
Yeah. I still have those days, and I'm 2 years in. So
yeah,
like I don't think they ever go away. I'm sure there's people who have teenagers and still have those days.
Yeah.
They're probably sleep a little bit better than we do.
Yeah.
Or
right.
Really,
they get more sleep than this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, so I have a question for both of you. Because I know in my situation, I just watch way too much TV, because I thought that like, oh, it'll be fine because I'll take the morning shift and Eric will take the night shift and he can sleep. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Like this Wally and what is that? Wally and the Beav or whatever, like June Fever, like, perfect little family setup. Like, nah, it doesn't work like that. Like, I used to make fun of my mom because I would walk past her room and she would be like, what? If she was asleep, like wake up out of her sleep. I'd be like, bro, did nobody even say anything to you? Like, what is your problem? But now I get it. It's like when you have a kid,
you hear everything.
The quality of the way that you sleep. It's not even the amount. Like I get to sleep through the night now. My son sleeps like 12 hours a night, but I wake up at the smallest things, because it's like I can't even fully like get into my REM cycle because I know that if my like I have to be, alert in case my baby wakes up. So my question is, how was that experience for you guys? One, balancing the responsibilities, because both of you guys have, Ashley, you're married. Aryka, you have Jonathan. You guys weren't married when you had Elijah, but
yeah, not at the time, but we were together, and it was
you guys were together, and he was, you guys were physically together when you were bringing Elijah home. What was that like for you? I'll share my experience, but I want to know, what was that like for you guys? Like sharing the responsibilities, like were Jonathan and Remy like waking up and alert, or did you feel like it was kind of like a mama's thing? Like, was he all chipper and well rested? Like, hey, how you doing? And you're like, I've been up for 5 hours. That's how I'm doing. Because that was my experience. Because
listen, I'll let you go ahead, Ashley. You go first. Yours is the freshest.
I will say Remy started off really, every time I woke up, baby woke up, like he was getting up with me. Like, even though we were nursing, he would wake up and change the diaper and just be like real supportive and be like, okay, yeah, we're doing this as a team. And that slowly declined real quick. And it's just and it's not funny, but sometimes I'm just like, I remember there was an incident in the hospital where Remy was like, he wanted the bassinet to be on his side. He was like, you try to get some rest, if he just needs a diaper change, like I'll do it, and it's time to nurse, like I'll bring him over to you. So like you said, Brie, like you're never like fully asleep, right? So we're probably 3 days in it. We're still in the hospital, and I hear little Remy crying, like screaming. I have a video, screaming. So I walk over, and Remy's just knocked out, and I wake him up, and I'm like, what happened to like you saying whatever? He's like, I'm just sleeping too good. Like, just sleeping too good.
I'm dead. Not sleeping too good, and you can't be bothered. Okay, must be nice, sir.
Listen, I've never slept that good since Elijah's been born.
I swear, it was the same thing for like similar situations with Eric. Like in the beginning, it was like both of us would wake up, and he would just check in. He would be like, "You good? Do you need help?" And me being me, like control freak, I got it. My baby, all my issues that I'll work out in therapy later. I was like, "No, I'm good," and he would go back to sleep. And then it went from that to like not even like just kind of rolling over. Like it, not even when he would initially start crying, it would be like if Trey would cry and I would get to him and he would still be crying, he would wake up like almost like not with an attitude, but it was the energy was like, damn, he's still crying. You ain't gotten to go back to sleep yet. He would be like, wake up and be like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with him? And I'm like,
why don't you help me figure it out?
Yeah, it's like, I did have a moment where I was like, I have issues, but it's okay. I mean, because this is where like you're crazy, right? Like your hormones are all over the place. I'm tired. I've been doing this 5 days straight because they sleep. You get these little hours and pockets of sleep, and then you have to be up during the day. There's other things you have to do. So I was just sitting there like rocking him, and he did his like, is he okay? And he just would not go to sleep. He was fed. He was dry. It was just one of those things where he wanted to cry. And I was like, can you please help me? Like, you're just laying there asleep. And I'm here. Like, I want to go to sleep. And he was like, give it to me. Give it to me. Like, he could see, like, okay, the crazy is all on you. Just give them to me. And then, of course, now I didn't go to sleep. I sat up and watched him and was like, what are you doing? He needs this. He needs that. He was like,
to make sure he does everything right.
He was like, look, you said you needed to go to sleep. So I got him.
Take your ass to sleep.
Right. He was like, take your ass to sleep. And he was like, I don't know what you want from me. And I was like, no, give it to me. Give me my baby. I know what to do. Give me my baby. He was like, you know what? I'm going to go sleep on the couch because I don't even know what you want from me at this point. And we had several of those moments because it was this like, just frustration, not even with him, just with the reality of what life was at the moment. Like, bro, I'm freaking tired and this baby will not go to sleep. And then also all on top of all of that, feeling guilty for feeling that way, for like being so frustrated with my baby that he just would not sleep so I could sleep, that I felt guilty. And then, of course, people, you better sleep while the baby's sleeping. Oh, okay, cool. You gonna come over and do my laundry and cook me something to eat and like wash my hair and my ass because I haven't had a chance to take a shower yet, or when do you suggest I do that? Because if I sleep for this little 2 hours that Buddy is asleep, I'm gonna
Nothing's
be
getting
up.
done.
Right. Because dude still had to go out and his dad was still, he had to go and work.
Okay, so yeah, for me it was similar to y'all. It's like in the beginning, Jonathan did get up with Elijah. I would say I felt like he was always willing to get up throughout, but it was the same thing. Like he didn't hear what I would hear. And he would sleep through all of it and I wouldn't say anything. And then, we both get up in the morning and he was like, how you sleep? I'm like, terrible because your son was up. Oh, he was up. Why didn't you wake me up? Because like I don't want to be that asshole. Like I'm already up. Let me just go ahead and deal with it. But I would be like in tears some nights because I would be just so freaking exhausted. And not to mention like I had nursing issues that we spoke about in the first season. So it was a lot of times a struggle. And then especially at night, because I'm not trying to turn a bunch of lights on. I'm not trying to wake everybody up. It was a mess on top of the hormones. Like I don't feel like, and that was what I was going to ask you ladies to kind of lead into next was I don't feel like I had like postpartum depression, but I definitely had the baby blues. Like now that I think about it and I look back on how I interacted with people and just how I felt, like I wasn't smiling like at all. Like not the whole time, but for sure the first month. The first month I was like, I wasn't sad or upset. Like I just was like, I didn't have really much emotion. Like I was just trying to get it done. I was trying to figure things out on top of, me having the postpartum preeclampsia. So I was taking like high blood pressure pills for the first month and then my nursing issues and all that. I was just like trying to make it through the day, basically.
Yeah. I had I know I didn't have postpartum depression and I was really, really aware and kind of on the lookout for those warning signs because I have a history of depression, just period. Like I've had depressive episodes before. And so I was like really diligent about going to therapy when I was pregnant and like just kind of preparing. I almost expected myself to have it, but I didn't. I did have the baby blues, but mine was late. I would say mine probably set in towards the end of my 4th trimester. So like when Trey was around 3 months old. And I don't even really know what the trigger was for it, but I went from feeling like I had it under control, like I was tired, but I felt like I had a routine. I had a lot of support. People were telling me that I was doing a good job, which was helpful for me. But around month 3, I just started to like, I think too, because of COVID, so I wasn't going anywhere and going out with my baby. And I started to feel sad that he wasn't interacting with people that he didn't know, his family members as well. It's like my vision of what my motherhood journey would be wasn't panning out mainly because of COVID and like that feeling of being helpless, like I couldn't do anything to change it. And then also being a little stir crazy, like just being stuck in the house all the time with this little human that I love, with all of me, but at the same time is disrupting my sleep and shitting everywhere and spitting up and, being a baby.
Right.
And then being at home a lot. I won't say a lot, but having some days, long days at home by myself, just because, Eric's a barber. So he would leave like on a Saturday, he would leave here at like 8:30 in the morning and come back after 10 o'clock at night. Cause I'm not working. So he's trying to get every head that he can. And that's a long time to be on baby duty by yourself. And I had no help because of the safety of it all. And it started to, I think, really weigh on me in month 3 to the point where like you were saying, Aryka, I was just trying to get through the day. Like I was just trying to get through the day. And I think a part of the reason why it's so important to talk about the 4th trimester is so that other people, like support people, understand that it is a real thing and they're just as supportive, if not more, during that time frame as they are during your pregnancy. Because I feel like people expect new moms to be like you said, Ashley, when we first started, like I love him with everything, and it is a love that you can't describe, and it's such a great thing to be a mom, but that shit is hard. Especially in the first 3 months, because you are getting used, like you said, you're learning yourself, you're learning your baby, you're relearning the aspects of your relationship, and you're taking care of another human being. And in all of our cases, having to really take care of and love on ourselves because we just had major surgery to bring the life into the world. That's a lot. So like, I think it's important to really like break that down and talk through it like we are right now, so people understand like you can expect your partner to be overwhelmed. If they're a new mother, they're going to be overwhelmed. I think it's inevitable, unless you're like Beyonce. And I'm sure she was overwhelmed too, even though she had like an army of people changing diapers and wiping asses. Like, you're still overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, how about you, Ashley? Do you feel like you had postpartum or the baby blues at all?
I know you and I talked about it, and I was expressing to you how I was feeling, and you were like, "Oh, I think you have a bit of baby blues." But the more time that went on and the more it progressed, like I do think I had and have postpartum. I think I'm still going through it and trying to navigate through that. I know the few times we went to the doctor for myself and for little Remy, they have you fill out like, the questionnaire because they want to check in on the mom.
Mm-hmm.
Each time she was like, yeah, you scored pretty high. Like, you may want to check in with your doctor and things like that. Cause I was honest. And it's to the point where, and I think some people just correlate like, oh, you have postpartum, like you want to hurt your baby or something like that. And it's
Yeah,
not,
like the crazy extreme situations. Yeah.
for me, it was like my anxiety crazy. Like if I wasn't driving, if my husband was driving, I couldn't relax because I didn't have control. Like I thought something bad was going to happen in the car, or all of a sudden we purchased this new beautiful home. I'm worried about it catching on fire. I'm all these extremes. It's not like little things. Or even if I'm walking with Alex, am I going to trip and fall and hurt him? And like all these things. And then I remember reaching out to my mom, and I was just kind of telling her, and I was crying on the phone with her. And I know that initially she's like, I want to just tell you, like, you have so much to be happy for. You, like, you have a healthy baby, you have this new home, you have a husband. But she's like, I know it's more than that. And I'm telling you, like, get help, like reach out to your doctor and let them know that you're feeling these things, so you don't have to, go through this by yourself and keep feeling this way, when there are other alleys that you can take to try to make yourself feel better.
Yeah. And I think that's important too. And I'm proud of you for being honest at the doctor, because I know even for me, like I've said this a million times, and you guys both know I've been in therapy for a really long time. And I'm a champion of therapy and like mental health and awareness and all of that. But still, like, when I go to the doctor and have to fill out like that question, like, do you have a history of anxiety and depression? I'm always hesitant to say yes, because there's still as widely accepted as it's been now compared to like 10 years ago. The conversations about mental health in general and postpartum depression, there's still a stigma attached to it. And it's like, once you put that on paper, it almost like makes it real, and then you really do have to deal with it. But to your mom's point, it's important, because if we're not okay, our babies won't be okay. And it's totally fair and understandable to feel the way that we do in that fourth trimester. It's a whole new world, and there is no manual. There are no guidelines, and you can have the most supportive partner. I think all three of us have and had supportive partners in the ways that we needed them to be. But we all just said, like, yeah, they were supportive. They offered to help, was all, would wake up X, Y, and Z, but we still ended up doing it. I think that's just what motherhood looks like, especially in that first 3 months, because that's your baby. Like, it literally, you've spent more time with that baby inside of you than you have outside of you at that point. And so it's like, you don't even leaving them gets weird. I know for me, the first time I really like was away from Trey for like overnight was my birthday, which is in July. And it was like a week after my birthday. So it was literally like almost to the day, right at the end of my fourth trimester. It was like he had just made 3 months, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm ready. And it was when we went to brunch downtown.
I remember. Yes.
We went to brunch downtown, me, her, and some of our mutual friends. And then we got a hotel room, Eric and I, and we spent the night. 8:00 in the morning, I was like, "Get up, we gotta go." He was like, "Checkout's not till 11." I said, "We have to go. I wanna go get
My child.
He was like, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing." He was here at my house. My sister came and watched him at my house. So I was like, "I would just be more comfortable if you watched him at my house." And like everything was fine. She sent me all the pictures and the videos, but I was like, enough's enough. Let's go. Like it wasn't even a full 24 hours because I think I dropped him off the day before at like 2:00 in the afternoon or something like that. But I was like, "No, gotta go."
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's like impossible. I don't think I'd left Elijah's side overnight. I don't think. Actually, I might not have ever left him anywhere overnight and not seen him, which is like
really?
crazy. Yeah. I don't trust nobody. I'm sorry.
How old is Elijah?
Elijah's 3.
3.
But I also don't live like by a lot of my family. So it would be different if I had a lot of family really close to me.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely would have been gone somewhere. But like we have some family, but they live like far out, over an hour away from us. And I just have never felt like super comfortable with him like staying the night with anybody. But I in the first time I really had to leave him for a prolonged period of time was when I went back to work after my first 3 months, and that was like I was like crying leaving the house. Like, why do I have to leave him? Yep.
Yeah, I sent her a picture. I was literally, she's like, "So how is it going?" And I sent her a picture like, "I'm currently crying in the car." Like,
yeah, I felt so bad. You just went back to work this week. This is Ashley's first week back at work.
Oh.
And like she shared, they moved. It's a lot, but she had to do a lot to get back to work. And I feel that. And I am so blessed. I mean, you guys both know because of the situation, COVID, me not working, everything, I didn't go back to work until 10 months after Trey was born. And I was like, Mom. And I work from home. Like, but I still, it was like, it wasn't the physical separation because you guys know he goes to daycare, but it was more of like, I'm used to my life has been Trey.
Yeah.
Like we get up, okay, we're gonna eat, we're gonna play, we're gonna do tummy time, we're gonna read our books, then we're gonna take a nap. Like I had really settled into a routine with my baby. And now just to know that, like, what if he crawls? What if he walks? What if he says something? What if he like the guilt? Like going back to season 1, episode 1, the guilt of having to leave him, even, after that, I can only imagine, like, you guys are super women, and all of the women out there that like leave, it's insane. Like they don't even do that in the wild, like leave your child after 3 months. And the fact that so many women have to makes me really mad. But
some only get 6 weeks, which is crazy in itself too. So
that's my job did too, and I prolonged it. I'm like, I can't come back after 6 weeks. Are you crazy?
You're not even fully healed from a C-section in 6 weeks. You're still like figuring it out, feeling, make sure that you're healed inside and outside after 6 weeks. And depending on the type of work that you do, that could be dangerous. And then you have in your mind's not settled. And then I think most women are like the postpartum depression or baby blues. It's not like a switch flips at the end of your 3rd month postpartum, like at the end of 4th trimester. It's not like when you at the end of your pregnancy where it's like, okay, I spit the baby out, now I'm not pregnant anymore. Like, no, you still are hormonal, you still are adjusting, you're still tired, you're still overwhelmed, you're still learning and redefining all of the relationships around you because now you're a mother. Like none of that stuff shuts off. It just, I think after that 3 months, you're kind of settled into that, all of that newness, and you're still trying to figure it out, but that initial like shock and adjustment period has ended. But like none of it goes away. It just is now, it's like, okay, this is my life now. What am I gonna do with it, kind of thing. I am curious to know from you guys, because this is something that I struggled and still struggle with just in general, but like asking for help. So I know, like Aryka, you just said like you guys don't live close to like family really. So I know you guys have some people like neighbors and stuff that you leave with. But when it came to that 4th trimester and you needing support, not just like emotionally, like Ashley, you said, of course, we lean on each other, and I know you lean on your mom and other friends, but when you need like that tactical help, like
Mm-hmm.
I used to, once I got a little bit more comfortable, like really towards the end of the the fourth trimester, I would be like, Mom, I need to go to Target. Like when things were open up, I was like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna come and pick you up. Can you just sit in the back seat of the car with Trey while I go in Target? Because I didn't want to take him in the store. And at the
Mm-hmm.
time, Target drive up wasn't a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to go get what we need without help? Like, I didn't really want anyone in my house, like
Mm-hmm.
where we spend all of our time. And, people nobody else's life has been affected just because I had a baby. Like my sister still works. My dad still works. Like I can't ask them to stop what they're doing so I can go to Target. So, yeah, I'm curious to know, how has that been going for you, Ashley and Aryka? How was that experience for you? Like just asking for help. Did you feel like you had people to ask, and what was that experience like? Like just kind of recognizing when you needed to reach out.
I would say for me, I shot myself in the foot thinking, when prior to having the baby, like you're, coming up on your due date, I was like, oh, I don't need help right away. It'll be okay if my mom comes like a week or two after, like an idiot. And obviously at the time I did not know I was having a C-section either. But still, either way, I needed that help like really bad right in the beginning. And on top of having a C-section, emergency C-section, and then having my postpartum preeclampsia and having going back in the hospital, and then come home and be on high blood pressure medication and try to get myself back right. Like I really, really needed that help in the beginning. And I didn't ask for it. Like I waited until my mom got there, and of course I got help from Jonathan, and he did as best as he could to help me. But I wished I would have not tried to be so like, oh, I got this, I don't need help right away, you can come a little bit later. Like, no, you need help immediately, and with a regular, non-emergency delivery, you just need that help because you don't know what you're doing. It's like, I don't know about for you guys, but like when they let you discharge you from the hospital, I was like, I have to go home by myself with this baby. Like there's not a nurse coming with me.
Yes. It's like they almost need to leave you alone in the hospital to give you like a little prep session, because they spoil you. Like in the hospital,
Yeah.
they're coming in, they're offering you pain medicine every 2 hours.
Right.
They're changing the
baby can go to the nursery. Like,
Yes.
they putting the baby on your boob for you, so you don't even really have to practice the latch. You like, this motherhood shit is
Bringing you
easy.
food.
I had the same experience when we got home. I remember sitting on the couch, we were eating, and Trey was like in his little sleeper boppy thing. And I just remember looking at him and thinking to myself, like, so now what?
Right.
So I was looking at him like, what's up, player? Like,
looking at you like, what's up?
Right. He looking at me like, just you wait.
What about for you, Ashley? Yeah.
I would say for me, I learned quickly that I was going to need help and was asking for help. So I wanted my mom or my parents to come up, and his parents, because I'm from Illinois and my husband's from Omaha, and we lived in Iowa at the time. So with COVID, we couldn't have anyone else in the room, of course, but we wanted it to be fair for the grandparents to meet baby at the same time. So we're like, oh, they can come up. I wanted them to come up like maybe a day or two after we got back from the hospital. But my husband was like, nope, we just need this time just to bond as a new family of 3 and figure these things out. And I was like, okay, like he got me on board with that. And I guess in hindsight, it kind of worked out because we ended up being in the hospital a little bit longer because little Remy had jaundice really bad. He had ABO mismatching with like our bloods not mixing well and things like that. So we were in the hospital for a week and a half, and then we went home and then got readmitted again. So it was a lot. But I would say in the midst of all that, we were purchasing a house, and quickly our support system stepped up, and anything we asked and needed help with, like they were there, a drop of a dime. Our pastor helped us move. Remy's parents drove from Omaha to Iowa, then to Iowa to Illinois to watch the baby and be with him while we were getting things in order. once we're getting all settled and his parents went back, like my parents stepped up and we could drop little, I call my son Alex and Remy, so I go back and forth. So he has multiple names. We were dropping him off with my parents so we can just go to the store and not have to worry about like taking him in and out and keeping him entertained. So I would say within the first couple weeks, I was like, okay, we need help and I'm not afraid to ask for it. Like, this is what our family and support system's here for. We need to ask them for help. I was reaching out to Bria every day, sending her video. Then I caught COVID. It was just a lot. It was a lot.
It was. Even from like a support perspective, I was like, damn, they can't catch a break. And like, you don't want to react. You don't want to react to them because like, she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, they were just so, my heart just broke for them.
Because, my husband had knee surgery. Yeah, it was
a lot.
Oh my goodness.
And it was hard. It was, it's like when people are like, when you keep telling somebody it's going to be okay, but then you're like, damn, I don't know if it's going to be okay.
Like, when? No. Give me a time, like, y'all need a vacation.
Yeah. But I will say, and I tell them all the time, and that's kind of what I said, like, they endured so much during the 4th trimester, like you shared at the top of, this episode, just because of what life was throwing at you guys. And they have handled it all with so much grace and so much like poise, because I would have been a hot mess. And she definitely did not hesitate to reach out for help. And I think that's important to know, because as moms, especially like we talked about yesterday when we recorded the C-section episode, I don't know if you felt this way, Ashley, but Eric and I shared the same sentiment that like, in a way, we kind of felt like we failed because we didn't deliver vaginally. Like, I don't know, we just had like negative feelings about having to have a C-section. So afterwards, it was almost like this extra motivation to prove ourselves. And like, I know for me, that was part of the reason why I didn't. And that's just how I am as a person anyway. Like, I don't really ask for help. I tend to try to do things on my own. But I think it's important, if there's ever a time in your life where you are going to ask for help, ask for it when you are in your 4th trimester, because that is when, I think, if we can talk about just like the first year of motherhood, I think that's when you will need the most support and the most help. And I think when you don't ask for help, or when you don't tap into yourself enough to recognize like, hey, I need help, that's when things can start to run away from you. And I think that's when postpartum depression can get to a dangerous point, not where you're going to harm your baby, but where you're just so detached from who you are that it really starts to affect the things and people around you. And I think it's just important to have at least one person or one support group where you can be honest about how you're feeling. Because I know like one of the fears that I had was that I wouldn't connect with my baby right away. Like, I remember reading some stories, and like one celebrity story in particular, like Tamar Braxton was public about how when she first gave birth, she didn't feel a connection with her son and she got dragged for it. People were like, but that's a thing. Some people don't feel that instant, like that love and connection. People feel the other emotion stronger than they feel the love. And I think a lot of people keep that to themselves, again, for fear of being judged or for fear of whatever the stigma is. But those type of questioning and feeling unsure and feeling overwhelmed, all of that is important to express so that the people around you can, like your support system did, Ashley, like swoop in and help. Like, yo, this is a lot. Like, they got, because y'all didn't have to share everything that you shared. Like, oh, we have to stay in the hospital because of this, or, Remy's having this surgery or that. Y'all just could have powered through, but, ask for your help, and also know who your support system is and who your support people are before you give birth. Like, I know for me, even though I had COVID, like my godmother was like, I'll make some things in the slow cooker and I'll bring them by so you can freeze them. Like, I'm not going to come in, but I'll just leave them on the front step. My therapist was like, I have some things for you. Where's a safe place where I can leave it? My mom and, Ashley checking in on FaceTiming all the time. Like, people were doing as much as they could. My sister would go anywhere for me and just leave it on the front step, or she broke the rules. She actually would come in the house. So she met Trey before anybody else, really, because she was like, you can't go down the stairs. You just had a C-section. So why should I leave it at the front door? I'm bringing it in. And I'm like, no. But I said all that to say, like, ask for help.
And accept it too when it's offered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's harder. Do you guys think it's harder to accept it when it's offered or to ask for it?
I think
For me, for me, it's to ask too, for sure.
See, for me, it's to accept it. Because I feel like if you asking me, I need help, you trying to say I'm failing. Like you see, it's like when you see somebody with a bunch of groceries at the grocery store, you need some help. Like, no, I
got it.
I've been in the guy. I got this. Like, but I feel like if I'm asking for help now, I'm in control of the situation. But if somebody's offering me help, I don't know. That's just how my mind works. It's like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't really accept help. I'll ask for it because then I can set it up in the way that I want to. And not because I want to control somebody or be manipulative or anything, just because like it feels like, okay, I asked for help because I know I needed help. Like I was telling my dad earlier, like if I'm asking for help, it's because I have no other options. Whereas if I'm accepting help, I start to get self-conscious. Like, well, what am I doing? Or what are you seeing? What are you looking at where you feel like I need help? Which is crazy because people just want to be nice and ask you for help and just take it. Like, so whether you ask for it or accept it, use the help.
Use it, please.
While you can, because they're not going to want to help forever. Like I have a younger cousin. She loves to babysit, but her rule is once they start talking, she don't fool with it. She's like, once they start talking, nope, because that's when they get out attitudes and she'll still like, I don't know though, because I just asked her to babysit on Friday and she's like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I was like, oh,
try talking too much.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're talking too much now.
All them fruit snacks and stuff
when they start talking. And I think it is easier to help. Like I had a friend that was like, Bree, I know, like I'll just come and sit and you tell me what to do, or I'll just sit there with him while he sleeps. You can do whatever you want to do. My photographer friend Keisha, and she was like, I'll do that for you, Bree. Like I don't live that far, and I never accepted her offer, and I haven't asked, and I know that she would. It's like, it's nothing against her. I love her, and she's so good with Trey. She takes all of his photos. Is so patient. It's just something like, nah, I got it.
Yeah, I have a friend that lives close over here. She always said the same thing. She's like, I watch him, just bring him over. And she's watched him a few times for me, but I'm like, I would always not now, but in the past, I would be like, I don't really want to ask her. I don't want to inconvenience her. And she has kids that are like in middle school, high school age. Actually, her daughter just started babysitting for Elijah, which is amazing. But I still would be like, I don't want to inconvenience her. I don't, it's not that big of a deal. But I'm learning. Like
it's hard. Yeah, I think as they get older,
a babysitter.
Yeah. And that kind of brings me to another question. And I think one of the biggest things, I think this might be one of the things that I actually did read about is like the relationships, like how your relationships are affected when you give birth, particularly in the 4th trimester, and not just the relationship with your partner, but just the relationship or ships with the people closest to you. I know in my case, I think having Trey, I read that when you have a baby, your relationships, whatever they're founded on, if the relationship is negative or toxic, or if there's problems, it's going to come to light once, you have your child. If the relationship is the opposite of that, if it's positive, everything great, then that'll come to light. It's like it kind of washes away all of the bells and whistles on it and exposes every relationship for what it really is. And I absolutely think that was true in my case. 100%.
I think so too.
Yeah. I was just telling my mom the other day, I think since Ashley and I have always been close, but Ashley, you can tell me if you agree, but I think when I got pregnant with Trey, I think our relationship, we were still close, but it was different. Because I just think for me, I felt like I was going through something like so specific. It's so hard to explain what happens when you get pregnant and when you become a mom and when you give birth. And it's like your friends that don't have kids, you tell them certain things, but you just don't really understand and relate until you are there. And I know like she was so supportive, and I could tell she was like trying to be as supportive as she could, but I still just felt like she doesn't get it. Like she doesn't understand. But now I feel like we're back to how we were before neither one of us had kids, and we were like super duper close, like BFFs forever. Not that we weren't, but like we're here. Like we went out to eat a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, just so you know, I have the same clothes on from the other day. I said, okay, cool, because I haven't showered. So we're here. We're good. And it's like no judgment, no explanation.
No.
And like when we pulled up and we had lunch, it was just the conversation.
That was a good lunch.
Yeah. We just laughed about how much of a mess our lives were that week because of everything going on in motherhood. And it was nice to have, you know, that type of connection with her. So like to that point, we've always had a really good, positive, supportive relationship. And now that we both are mothers, it's all of that is kind of bubbled to the surface, where I have some other people that I was, you know, friends with or whatever, and we're not friends anymore. Not because there's bad blood, but just because the relationship fractured because my life is different and they couldn't adjust to the differences. Like, it's like the things that I'm trying to do, the things that I'm concerned with, the things I want to talk about, the places I want to go, the time I got to be home, like all of that is different now that I'm. So I wonder for you guys, did you have similar experiences, or how were your relationships affected after you became moms, particularly in that like 4th trimester?
I would say for me, I kind of learned myself that if I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. Before, I feel like I was kind of like a people pleaser, like, oh, I gotta call you right back, or I have to answer the phone if you're calling me, even if I'm busy doing something, or text you back, or do things I don't want to do. And now I'm just like, no, like I have so many unread messages, or if my big thing is like if my parents call, I always try to stop what I'm doing and answering. But now it's like I'm tending to my baby. I can't stop tending to him to answer the phone right now. Like I'll call you back as soon as I can, like, you know, but my priorities have just shifted. And it's like, you know what, if I don't have time to do it, I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. So I would say the relationship with myself has definitely changed because I'm learning, you know, it's okay to say, no, I don't have to do everything when people want me to do it. And I will say for the most part, I feel like everyone's been pretty understanding, not that they have a choice, but they've been receptive.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I definitely had a similar experience. And I remember one of my best friends, and I talked about her a few times now, her name is Nina. When she first had her daughter, I used to be like, I would text her and I wouldn't get a response for days. And I would be like, damn, now I know you didn't look at your phone for the past 2 days. Like I wouldn't say that to her, but in my head, I would be like, I know she saw my message. Da, da, da. And then after I had my baby, she would be reaching out to me, and it would be days before I would see her message, but it's just like, responding to you right now is not a priority. I'm not ignoring you. There's no love lost. And she was like, I told you. She's like, like, yeah, you used to be all in your feelings. And I was like, I know, I get it.
It ain't nothing
like,
personal.
It's nothing personal. Yeah. So it's like the things that I used to take personally, it's like, now I actually issued like a blanket apology to all of the mothers in my life when I became one, because I was like, I am so sorry. Like I just, especially like my sister, I was like, I am so sorry for all the unsolicited advice I gave, for all of it. Like I just went down a list, because it's like, now I get it. I actually shared a post on Facebook the other day. Like
I remember what you're about to talk about.
It was like Christmas time. You know, they give you the memories. And like 6 years ago, I shared some shit, and it was like, oh, on Christmas. Was it Christmas?
No, it was Easter. Halloween or Easter. It was something Easter. Like go hide stuff.
It was Easter. It was like, if you can't do an Easter egg hunt outside, you should hide things. You should make a scavenger hunt inside and put a note inside every egg and blah, 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 blah. And I like, it wasn't even a pin. It was an idea that I came up with. And I was like, when I have a family, I can't wait to do this with my family. And that was 6 years ago. So when it popped up in my memories, I reshared it. And I was like, this is the type of shit people without kids suggest. Because there's no way in hell I'm going to do that shit now for Trey.
It's time for that.
And find his little plastic eggs. What?
Holiday.
Scavenger hunt? Bye, girl.
That's crazy.
But Aryka, what about you?
I would say I probably had similar experiences to you, Briana. But I would say one thing that definitely has changed is I've always been somewhat of a when I was younger, I was very, very shy. But as I've gotten older, I've lost some of the shyness, but I've still like I really only share things with people that are like really close to me. And I'm not a super open person. And I'm not like, you know how when you're younger, your mom would just start talking to random people at the grocery store and you're like, why are you talking to these people? And now I get it. Like you can spark up a conversation with another mom that, you know, either is older or has their child with them and you just have that common bond. And I feel like it definitely just having Elijah and going through everything I've gone through, it kind of has opened me up and allowed me to let people in a little bit more and not be so secluded. Like we all, especially as moms, are going through the similar things and or have been through them, and we can understand. We just have that camaraderie with each other. And then as far as like my friends, I would say it's definitely probably brought us closer. Like not only friends, but like my mom and my grandmother and just people that I maybe wasn't super close with or we didn't have that type of connection with. It's kind of opened that up, and it definitely has helped me in that aspect for sure.
Yeah. I would say the same thing about the openness. I mean, I don't know. I've kind of always been an open book if you ask me. Like I don't necessarily volunteer things, but I don't hide anything. So like you could ask me anything and I'm either going to tell you that's none of your business or I'm going to just tell you whatever you just asked. But more forthcoming with the information and more open to like talking to people that I don't even know.
Yeah.
Because you're almost like on a hunt, like who
like she a
else?
mom too?
Like where can I find somebody else that knows like what I'm going through? And I think even like on social media, it's a girl in my DMs right now. I don't even know the nice young lady's name, but she saw like one of the reels that I reposted from our podcast page and she was like, girl, yes. And then we've been just kind of like side chatting here and there about things. I'm like, yes, because they don't know this motherhood shit is hard. Like we, you know, just kind of like cheering each other on and being supports. And I think that's important. Like, and so going back to like telling the truth and being honest with yourself and others and asking for help, it's like if you don't speak up, if you don't share, you don't know, it can feel like what you're experiencing is only happening to you. I know for me. And I know in learning how to be more open and sharing and like available and open to new relationships and new connections, I know now that I'm not alone. And it's also empowered me to share even more of my story and like to do this with you. That's why when you reached out and was like, I have this idea, you probably think it sounds crazy. And I was like, no, it sounds brilliant because these people need to know the real shit that happens. Like, that's one of the things that I just kept asking myself and others, like, why during my 4th trimester, how come this isn't like published somewhere? Like, how come this isn't like easily accessible common knowledge? Like, why do I not know this? Especially when you get on the phone with mom and grandma and all the older cousins and people that have babies, and they're like, oh yeah. Well, what you why you ain't tell me about it before? Like, what you
wrote it down for me or something?
Right. Like, but I think it's because like going back to what I was saying about Ashley and I's relationship, like even if I explained it, she wouldn't have got it.
Right.
Like you don't get it until you go through it.
And my mom said that to me recently because she loves listening to the podcast. And she's like, you know, I really love everything you guys talk about. But she's like, I have to tell you something. Like, a lot of this stuff you're saying I didn't tell you, I did tell you, but you just couldn't hear it then. And now you know, you've been through it and you know what's going on. I'm like, yeah, I know. I mean, there's certain things for sure. Like, it's just being so tired all the time in general. Even now, like I just put Elijah to sleep before we got in here. And I fell asleep in there with him before he even fell asleep. Like I always doze off in there. It's nothing for me to fall asleep in there. And that's just something, you know, and I remember being a kid and like we'd be hanging out on a weekend or something like that. And she's like, I'm just going to rest my eyes for a second. I'm like, what do you mean you're going to rest your eyes? Like, who wants to do that?
Ooh, I love a good eye rest.
It's the best.
I will lay down in the middle of the carpet and let Trey put all type of shit on me while I just And he'll be like,
And
Mama,
so we will doze off for a second and be
yeah.
like,
He'll be
okay,
like,
hold
Mama,
on.
Mama, you okay? You okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm like, all right, keep going.
Mom
Keep
just
going.
gonna rest in her eyes.
Because I'm gonna get this rest. And like I talked about in the first season, like my mom, and Ashley can attest to this because she spent the night with us all the time.
Yeah.
My mom would pull up to the house and just sit in the car for hours, and we would be like, what is she doing? And she wasn't doing shit. She was just doing shit, nothing herself, with no kids, nobody asking her anything. And it's like, I think that's another thing that I, just being a mother in general, has taught me, is the value of time. Please use your time wisely before you have a child, because it just, at least for me, and I know for all of us, because we're, really involved and dedicated mothers, I feel like if Trey is in my orbit, I need to be with him. Like, I need to be building blocks and putting together puzzles, or reading a book, or playing pretend, or singing a song, like, and that's all the time. Like, so then when do you have time to do anything else? And I think in that fourth trimester, that's when you really get you experience that for the first time, that time commitment that you don't have a choice about. Like, you can't be like, all right, Playboy, I'll see you in an hour.
Especially then, like, that's the extreme. Like, they need you for everything. Yes. There's no like, you sit here while I go take a shower real quick. Like, that's not happening at all.
How did you guys handle that? And because that was a riddle for me at first. I was like, so what do I do if he's awake, but I need to take a shower?
I think I only showered like when Jonathan was here. Or like accessible. Like, I remember my mom saying that she would like bring me, like put me in the car carrier and just like bring me in the bathroom with her. I don't think I ever did it.
That's what I did. I not the car carrier. He had, like, when he was big enough, when he was like an infant, I'd probably say like month 1 to 2.5, I would just wait till he was asleep, and then I would go take a shower. I would wait till Eric was home, and I would take a shower. But then when he got older, I would put him in like the little bouncer chair. It like vibrated, the chair vibrated, and it had like the little rattles or whatever on it. And I would bring him in the bathroom and put him on the floor and take a shower with the curtain open.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what the rules are, but I'm pretty sure it's okay because you're my son and you don't even know.
You don't know what's going on.
He would just be like, and like look at me crazy, and I would be like, Mommy has to shower. And then washing my hair. I have a lot of hair, and I would have to wash it and then blow dry it. Like, it's a whole ordeal. And I remember, like, I would pray over him, like, please just stay asleep long enough for Mommy to take a shower and wash her hair. And you don't move as fast as you used to, because you're still recovering from your C-section, and you're moving on like 20 minutes of sleep probably.
Right.
And it's a choice. Every time your child is asleep, it is a choice. Do I, A, sleep, B, wash my ass, C, eat, D, do some combination of B and C, or do I, E, try to do all of the above? And I would always try to do all of the above. I'd be like, okay,
of course,
I'm going to shower, I'm going to wash my hair, I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to, do whatever it is I had to do around the house, and then I'm asleep. And without fail, every single time I would get to the last task and get ready to lay down, and like 5 minutes later, my man's would wake up.
Always.
And I would be like, until eventually, I'd probably say around month 4, like outside of the fourth trimester, I probably was like, F it. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to sleep. Like, I'm going to sleep.
And that's the smart thing to do. Just like when they tell you right before you have the baby, like, rest as much as you can, just sleep and rest. And of course you don't, because you're trying to nest, you're trying to get the room ready, you're trying to do all this stuff. I was kicking myself. Like, why didn't I take my ass to sleep?
Especially because, well, when in the third trimester, sleep is just like awful. You're just so uncomfortable. But I remember getting the same advice, like, sleep as much as you can. And I have questions for God. Like, when I get there, I'm like, can you just come sit next to me real quick? I just got a few questions. I'm not even going to take up too much of your time. But like, the sleep that you get while pregnant is the best sleep that you will ever get in your life. It's almost like God gives you this gift. Like, here you go. I want you, go ahead, sleep, baby. Because you ain't never gonna sleep right again. Like,
never.
It's literally what it is.
Years.
Girl, that's literally what it is. Like, even now, like we talked about, like my sleep, the only time I sleep really good is like on the weekends. I've started to just go back to my end of fourth trimester vibes. If it's the weekend and Trey takes a nap, I don't care what I have going on. If I'm home, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to take me a night. And it's like the best sleep ever.
Oh, the naps are always the best.
Yes. That nap time sleep is the best.
Yeah.
It really, and I really started doing that because I noticed me like physically, I'm exhausted even now. Like he's 2 years old and I'm tired. And I think in fourth trimester, I was tired, but as far as like how I felt physically, like about my body and things like that, I was okay actually, which for me was surprising. And we talked about this a little bit in season 1 when we talked about our body confidence episode, or we had our body confidence episode. But I, shared that I've always been someone that's had like, I think we all obviously have insecurities, but I think I've leaned into mine a little bit more than maybe others have traditionally. But I felt good in my fourth trimester. Like I had gained a bit of weight, to put it mildly, as I've previously shared, but I do remember losing like 30 pounds of it quickly, like within the first month. And I remember just feeling proud of my body, like daring somebody to say something and I used to say, like, I'd laid on the table and let them saw me damn near in half to bring this little boy into the world. So if you don't like this belly, don't look. Like I was just, and I kind of still have that, not kind of, I do. I just like, as far as like how I feel physically and how I feel about myself physically, it's a work in progress. Like I'm so much kinder to myself and so much have given myself way more grace than I ever have before. Like I do a lot. I take care of another human being full time. And that's not even counting everything else that I do. Like just the fact that I do that is enough. And so to expect me to look like something that's fake on TV, like y'all got me effed up over here. So, and it's not, and it's less about, it's not even really about that, but I think that's what so many people, there's like the snap back this, and you're supposed to, like, when you have a baby, you're supposed to snap back and be happy that you're a mom. And it's like, if anything else is going on, right. If anything else is going on, it's like, shh, you can't talk about it. Or like, there's a stigma around it. So I'm curious to know for you guys, Ashley, in your case, how do you feel? And Aryka, how did you feel like physically as far as your body? I know we talked about healing and stuff after the C-section, but just like in your own body as a woman, did you feel any differently, or what were kind of your initial emotions in that fourth trimester?
You can go ahead, Ashley.
I think for me, it's so tricky because if I'm being honest, like I wasn't really happy with my body prior to becoming pregnant. So, and it's so funny because when I was pregnant, my friends who weren't, I'm like, man, I can't wait for my belly to pop out. Like I'm ready to like really look pregnant. And my friends who are pretty much in safe, they're like, why? I hope I don't pop until last. I'm like, girl, because I'm already kind of fluffy. Like I want the belly to pop out. So at least it's like, yeah, here I'm pregnant. Yeah. I'm not that. Like so I will say, like, after having Alex, it's like, wow, my body is amazing. Like you said, Brie, like I basically got cut in half, delivered this damn near 10-pound baby who is healthy and just amazing and so handsome. And it's like, I did that. Like I need to give myself, like you guys said in your first episode, but guilt to grace, give myself some grace. Like I just did that. I had a whole human, and being back to what I was prior to, or trying to get some crazy goals that's not realistic right after having a baby should be my top priority. My top priority should be healing myself mentally and physically, internally, after having a baby, and focusing on that and just trying to be present in the moment with my kid instead of spending 50 hours in the gym or not trying to eat. And especially like with nursing, like you have to eat and stay on top of like your fluids and things like that to keep your supply up. So it's just not, some of these things that we see on TV, and it's just not realistic. And it's sad that that's what we have to see and try to, compare ourselves to, and it's not ideal.
No, it's not, and it's not the majority. Like, it's the people that have the money and the resources to make that happen, and somebody to care for their kids, and all of that. I would say for me, I wasn't really thinking about it that much. Like, I don't feel like I really looked in the mirror for like at least a month after I had Elijah. Like, I don't like, I would look to like brush my teeth or something like that, but I wasn't like really looking at myself until probably when I went back to work. And
Do you think
then
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was wondering, do you think maybe that somehow also
Yeah.
coincided with your baby blues?
I think so, yeah, because I wasn't concerned, or it wasn't even on my radar, like my body at that point, besides like
Mhm.
my C-section scar and making sure that was fine. And all the bleeding and all that we talked about before. That, of course, I paid attention to. But like my body, I really, and I lost a good bit of weight like immediately. So I didn't feel like too crazy. And I didn't expect my stomach to like, go back down immediately or anything like that. But I didn't really think about my body until I went back to work. So like when I had to put real clothes on
Clothes
and be
on.
like,
Mhm.
oh, well, I can't really fit nothing. And why can I still wear some of my maternity stuff? Like, I should, it's already been 3 months. I should be all right to wear some other stuff.
Yeah.
And I had actually gotten like to a good weight right before I got pregnant, where I was very comfortable. And then I lost a bunch of weight my first trimester. And then I gained all that plus a lot more afterwards. So I definitely was like, once I went back to work, then I was like, okay, I got to kind of get it together because I want to get back to how I was. And I still am not back to how I was, but
Same here. And I was actually thinking about that, like, and I had to stop myself and give myself the grace because I was like, dang, it's people that are in there. Cause I don't remember who. I was either looking at somebody or talking to somebody who recently had a baby. And they were like, oh, yeah, I'm only 10 pounds away from where I was before. But I think, like, similar to you, Ashley, part of mine too is like I'm at my pre-pregnancy weight, but I wasn't happy with that. So it's not about like losing the weight or like getting in a certain shape because I had Trey. It's just like I'm back to where I was before I got pregnant, like just wanting to look but it's less it for me before was all about the look. If I'm being honest, which of course I have to be and it was all about the look. It wasn't about health. It wasn't about how I felt about myself. Like those things would come naturally when I would like be on track and trying to lose or get into a certain number, but it was all about the number on the scale and the way that I looked, period. Now it's really about, it's not about the look as much. It is, but it's not about, before it was about the look and what others thought about the look. Now it's about the look and what I see. Like I don't really care what others think and how others see me or what their opinions of me may be. It's about what I see and what I don't like and what I do like and knowing that I have the power to change it. But that's a small piece. The bigger piece is really about my health because I've been like, I was sick last week. I was sick a couple months ago. And I'm just like, every time I get sick, I'm like, I gotta act like a grown up. Like I have to get my shit together because like the older people in my life, now they're getting older and older and people having surgeries and all of this and all of that. And we Black folks talk, yeah, that's because all that stuff you eating and all this, that. But in 30 years, that could be me. And I don't want Trey to have to be burdened with me because I didn't make the right choices for myself now. Like just like how I make sure he eats right and he gets like, just I have to take care of myself just as much as I take care of him. And sometimes that self-care is like putting down the bag of chips or not eating the fruit snacks when he eats the fruit snacks. It's just making sure that I'm putting good things in my body so I have the energy just to get through the day, to work, to do like the reel I put on Instagram today, to do dinner time, to do playtime, to do laundry, to do bath time, to do it all, really. And not just want to curl up in a ball at the end of the day. So, but in that fourth trimester, I wasn't even thinking about it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, let me get in the gym or let me do this. It was just more so, like you said, Aryka, like being aware of my scar, making sure that I was healing internally. So I would go for walks and stuff, but I would be cognizant of how I felt to make sure I didn't overdo it. And then, like you said, Ashley, I gave myself more grace than I have ever in my adult life. Every time I would be like, I don't like that. Like looking at my stomach, it'd be like, well, ma'am, you just had a whole baby come out of there. Like, and it wasn't flat before. So I don't know. So what world are you living in? Like what you thought it was gonna look like?
I just want to know why they couldn't give us a little tummy tuck with the
right, well, they're already cutting.
I would really like to know, like, if I ever get famous, or because y'all know Lala is my fake friend, she be in my DMs on Instagram. I sent her the link the other day. I was like, hey boo, listen. I want to know, like, is there a 2-for-1 special that it's only offered to people with a certain amount of money? Like after they get the baby out, are they like sucking and tucking it in a different way? Because there's no way in hell that these women,
no,
because I see women that have like the 6-packs and all of that before they give birth, and they have C-sections, and like non-celebrity women, and they still have like a little pooch situation. It's very minor. Like I would take it in a heartbeat. Like I'd be fine with it.
right?
But it's not like, their washboard abs or whatever. So when, and I don't even know. I know Beyonce had a C-section with her twins. I can't think of any other celebrities right now that had C-sections, but I was looking at a list recently and I was like, but she ain't got no stomach though. Like,
so tucked up. That's what
Britney Spears had C-sections with her babies.
Oh yeah,
so Black China. So I'm trying to figure out, like, do y'all just
threw them an extra couple G's and they were like, listen, just
that's inequitable. That should be available for everybody because I'm going to pay this high ass hospital bill anyway. So go ahead and I'll pay an extra.
Y'all already cutting.
Right. I'll pay. You're already in there. I'm already like, just knock me out. Do what y'all got to do. And then, the consolation prize, because the belly be bellying. Definitely. It takes a lot. But I do think too, like you're stronger. I was doing a Peloton ride last night and the instructor, Robin, she's one of them, but she's like an athlete. She had a 6-pack before she gave birth, had a C-section, and now 6-pack is back. It's fine. She was talking about, she says it a lot on her rides, like if you're a caregiver, so if you're a mother, if you're, caring for elderly, whatever, she just talked about how like you have to give yourself grace and you have to take care of yourself. And sometimes self-care looks like the things that we don't want to do, like being on this bike, looking at ass, because I didn't really want to do it. But it's just balancing it all. And I think the 4th trimester is really, that's why they call it the 4th trimester, because it's another 3 months where you are experiencing new things, because each, trimester of being pregnant, you're experiencing new things. Your body is changing. You're preparing for the next phase. And I think that 4th trimester is just that. You're adjusting from being pregnant. You and everybody around you is adjusting to how this new life has changed everything. So you're changing. And because you're changing, your relationships are changing, your body's changing, your hormones are changing. So it's just really a change period, but it's one that for whatever reason isn't discussed at all. I don't know why. And I think that's a gap, one of the major gaps in like the healthcare system. Like, you go to the doctor like a billion times when you're pregnant. After you give birth, you're required to go maybe twice. Like I had to go to get my staples removed, and then I had to go to my regular 6-week, and then it was like, okay, see you at your annual. Like
I only had to go once, yeah, because I had to
which is crazy. It's like, good luck out there,
right?
Like,
my mom, she said, "When's your next appointment?" I'm like, I don't have one. Like, I'll see you.
Yeah, I'm just out here on my own. I'm thugging it right now. Meanwhile, you go to the doctor for your baby like every day. Like, we want to see you 3 days after. We want to see you back at a month. We want to see you back at 3 months. We want to see you back at, but they don't give it. They just like, all right, we'll see you in a year. Good luck. Don't get popped off again. Don't get pregnant again. Like,
oh yeah, my doctor did say that. She's like, listen, now you're going to be really fertile. So just make sure if you don't want to have one right away that you're doing what you need to do. It's like, well, thanks, ma'am.
It's like, what you, like, thank you. Thanks a lot for that. 4th trimester, y'all. It is, they call it that for a reason. The 3 months after you give birth to your baby, I think key takeaways: be kind to yourself.
Yes.
Always
Yes.
give yourself grace. I think that could be like a tagline for us because
Yes.
I
This
feel like
needs to be a
everything,
hashtag.
yeah, give yourself
Right?
grace.
Yes.
Yes, hashtag grace.
Yep. Ask and receive help.
Yes, took the words right out of my mouth.
Yes.
Ask
Ask
for
and
it and
receive help.
receive it.
Accept
Yes, and most of all, enjoy the moment because I
Mhm.
know, like, in prep for this episode, Aryka and I were saying that we had to really kind of like dig in the crates and reflect on that time because you almost kind of block it out because it can be so tough. So much goes on and time moves like that and you kind of forget about it. And then when you get to going through those old pictures and videos, you're like, where did my baby go?
He was so
Like
Yes.
little.
that. I know Ashley, you keep saying, oh, Trey's at such a
Now.
fun age, and he is, but man, I remember when he was 3 months old and I could still just lay him on my chest and snuggle and like all of that. And now he's like, no, mama, I want fruit snacks and I want,
Right.
like, you know, and there's joys in every phase of motherhood, but there's something so special about that fourth trimester, that first 3 months. And I know you're just coming out of it. So you'll be, Ashley, you'll be experiencing the next wave. And now
Yeah.
he's going to be
Yes.
trying to
I have one
crawl
more
and move around and
week and a half. Next Saturday he'll be 4 months. I can't believe I have a 4-month-old on the 14th.
It flies by. It flies by. That first year, especially, it's like you blink your eyes and they're walking and 1 years old and saying stuff and eating real food. Like what?
yeah,
People
you're
now
like,
they look back at pictures. I'm like, you are so different from like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
they change so much during the fourth
Yeah.
trimester
It's
too.
rapid.
Like everything changes. Like I remember Trey's grandmother, Eric's mom, the first time she met him, I caught her. She was trying to like shape his nose. She was like, because Black people, like they were like, oh, you gotta shape his
Yes.
head right and shape his nose. And she was like, no, I wasn't. I was like, I saw you. She was holding
Right.
him like this, and he was just like moving his little nose. And his nose, and now that he's getting older, because Trey, they still change even at 2 and 3 years old. The more I look at him now, I was like, oh, you have your dad's nose. Because I couldn't figure out whose nose he had in the beginning. And now I'm like, you look like your dad. You have your dad's nose, which is great because he has a good nose. But I just think it's cute, like how much they change and those little old, we'll never know if it's true or not. Those old like wives' tales where it's like, oh, you got to shape the baby's head and you don't have him looking crazy because his eyes gonna get stuck this way. And were there any of those things that people told you that you like subscribe to, or anything that people told you that actually like came true for y'all?
When I was pregnant, my mom told me I shouldn't be reaching over my head.
Why?
I her and Miss Karen, and I was like, why? And they were like, oh, something about the umbilical cord can be around the baby's neck and choke him. So I asked my doctor, and my doctor was like, yeah, no.
I've never heard that one. Only one I heard was the heartburn. Like if you have a lot of heartburn, your baby has a lot of hair, and I had heartburn like crazy. Elijah was damn near bald headed when he was born.
I know you.
Hair.
I don't know. I definitely heard a lot. Was on the receiving end of a lot, but I'd say the biggest one was like, I don't know. I'm trying to think. The heartburn one for sure. And then one that used to freak me out was about like, because when you lay them down on their backs, which is often and at their age, they're gonna look all over the place. And I was told that if they are like looking too far up, like trying to look at something behind them, then they're gonna be cross-eyed. So I would never, ever, ever like lay Trey down for too long. If I used to get so paranoid. And then I thought Trey had a lazy eye for like the first 2 months of his life.
Oh yeah, because they do get that eye that'll be wandering off.
Yes. Girl, I was in shambles.
Elijah had that too.
I was Googling it and like the surgery that it would take to fix it. And my sister was like, he's fine. And I was like, no, do you see it? See, watch, the right eye is just gonna wander a little bit. And my grandmother, God rest her soul, I love her. When she was younger, she had like a wandering eye and she had to get it fixed. I was like, oh shit, he didn't caught the shit from my nana. I'm like, but it was just like, so guys, if your baby's eyes wander, It takes longer for their eye muscles to develop and to strengthen. So that's normal. Don't be like me. Don't freak out. It got to the point where I was calling his doctor so much, like on call after hours, because every little thing I'd be like, what's this? What's this? What's this? That when I came to his, like, I want to say like 1 month appointment, she gave me this book called Baby 411. So recommend it to anybody listening. And she was like, this is what I call my baby Bible. I give this to all my new parents. She's like, you can always call me, but before you do, look in the book. She's like, I guarantee the answer to your question will be in the book. And it was in the book. Like everything was in the book. The thing about the eyes, sleeping, feeding,
I
like
need to get this book.
rolling. I'm going to give you mine.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you mine because I have, like, you'll see where I've like checked off like the developmental stuff for Trey because I was just so terrified that something was wrong with him and I was overlooking a sign and couldn't catch it early, like crazy. Hormones, of course, like you worry about everything, you pick up on everything, but I digress. 4th trimester, it's a real thing. Give yourself grace, ask and receive the help, and enjoy it. Because it truly is a precious and priceless time.
It is.
The best time.
Yes.
So Ashley, thank you so much for being
our
our
first
special
guest. Yes, you did great. Thank you so much.
Definitely. We'll have you back for future episodes, I'm sure, because that's the great thing. Aryka and I say it all the time. That's the great thing about our podcast is we'll never run out of things to talk about.
Never.
Keep growing, and we're going to keep experiencing things. And something that we said in the last episode, and I think, recurring theme for this season, Aryka said it great yesterday. We want to hear from you guys. Like, we want to hear from you guys. We want to know your stories, your questions, like what were your experiences in the 4th trimester? With all the topics that we touched on today, like submit things. You guys can follow us and DM us on our Instagram at Shit Your Mama Ain't Tell You. And who knows, maybe we'll have you guys on and you can be a guest. I know Aryka and I have talked about doing like something like a happy hour style thing. So who knows? Just submit, like, follow, share, subscribe, and tune in next week. We're talking mental health.
Yes.
Big one.
Yes.
Very big topic, very important topic. So again, thank you, Ashley, so much for being here.
Thank you. Yes, thank you guys. Thank you.